student? Is it the way you...
Yeah, we think so. I mean, we had 8 players from our development academy in the team today, and it was always going to be a test for our system, but I think even more importantly it shows the good work that our development guys have been doing with these young players. We make life pretty difficult for our VFL side. Dale Amos and Paul Hood and Matty Egan do a great job with those young players, but it does make it hard week to week for them to perform at VFL level. So in some ways that sort of gives them a little bit of a boost as well. And it gives our supporters a little bit of an insight into what our team might look like in 3 or 4 years. And we think the signs are pretty positive.
As a coach, when did you come to the realisation that it was about AFL football's now about squads and, you know, using 30 players in the season, not necessarily because you have to, but because you want to? Was that a realisation that you've had when you got here, when you looked at the team, or was it you've had...
Oh, well, it's certainly not just me. I think that process had begun before I arrived. And we certainly operate on a collective basis. So the powers that be here sat down and had a look at where we needed to go, and there's no question we need to bring some young players into the group. The fortunate thing is that we have a lot of young players who are ready to play at AFL level, and I think we saw that a little bit today. Mitch Brown looks like an AFL player on debut, but you know, we've got some older players who aren't going to be, you know, at the club in a few years, and it's important we handle them the right way as well.
How pleased were you for Mitch Brown after it's been a pretty tough road to his debut?
Yeah, well, in some respects he's had a pretty quick rise into AFL footy. He's only played 12 or 13 VFL games. The problem is it's taken him 3 years with a broken leg and a shoulder reco, so everyone was just wrapped for him. And the pleasing thing is that everyone knew that he was going to come in and do the job. I mean, he's a long way from being a bona fide AFL player long term, that you can only do that over a period of a couple of years, but he showed that he belongs at this level.
Alan Christensen was another as well. Won a lot of the ball, been in the VFL fair as well, and I think he's been best every time he's played VFL, so he's slotted straight back in as well.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, we probably could have and should have played him last week, but we were ultra cautious with a minor injury that he had, and he came in and did a fantastic job. Thought early in the game when the heat was on, he was probably the best player on the ground. So it's really pleasing for us. He can play inside. Even though he's only a small guy, he wins his own ball and was pretty dynamic on the outside as well.
What was the reason for subbing Scarlett off other than giving Burns a run?
That was the main reason. We wanted to get Burns on. We were really happy with the exposure Tom Gillies was getting to AFL footy, so it was kind of a case of we needed to find someone. Scarlett gets a little bit of a tight back, so again we could be accused of being too cautious, but you know, in the end someone had to go, and we thought that Tom could hold down the role that Scarlett was playing.
Did you think the game was pretty well and truly under control?
Oh, I mean, we were in front on the scoreboard, but you know, it still has to be done. We didn't think the game was over. But
Joe Barco's game, you'll be pretty pleased by that.
Outstanding, yeah. And I mean, only 4-6 weeks ago he was in our top half dozen players for the year, so it's not like he's been horrendous for a long period of time. He had 2 or 3 quiet games. He was either subbed or started as a sub in 2 of those, so we were never panicking with Trav, but he just showed what a dynamic player he can be. You know, when he gets up a full head of steam, no one catches him, and I think it's easier when the game's on your terms to sort of start to dominate. He got us going right from the start.
Was anything addressed with Trav? I know he's had a couple of quiet weeks, but a month ago he was, you know, your top 6. Was there something that he did this week or addressed to elevate him this week?
Oh, nothing in particular. I mean, we'd like to think that, you know, we have a culture of continuous improvement. Trav had a few, you know, minor things that we thought he could change that would make a big difference on game day. So no, there's nothing in particular. Just Trav's going to be a much better player in 3 or 4 years, we hope, than he is now. And we've just got to make sure we keep pushing every day to make that the case.
Chris, given the season is a really hard slog, would you anticipate there being many players who will play all 22 this year?
Yeah, probably not, but I mean, you never really know. Kelly and Bartel have played every game up until this week, so I don't think we've got too many left. We've got a number of players that are on slightly managed programs, and I think we've proven this year, even right from round one, that when players have injuries that could impact on later in the year, we'll take the cautious approach. I wouldn't expect we'd change that.
Looking forward to next week, Cam Mooney kicked 4 in the VFL yesterday, and I think you probably say his VFL form's been what you wanted so far.
Yeah.
Is he a chance to come back in next week now? He's had 3 weeks there.
Oh, maybe, but probably not. We've got a long-term plan with Moons, and it's got very little to do with form. It's nice to see that he kicked a few goals. I thought he was pretty strong in the marking contest yesterday. But the most important thing is he was moving well, and he's showing improvement in his body. We're still, and hopefully we've said the same things, whether Moons has played well at VFL level or whether he's played pretty average games at AFL level. The plan is to get him as good as he can be in August and September.